What are some examples of body shaming towards men that go unnoticed? Story 1. Making fun of men's height. And if you are upset by it, people will say you are insecure. And if you try to take charge because sometimes someone has to, people assume you're overcompensating. And you get called phrases like short man syndrome, Napoleon syndrome, etc. Not doing well in life? Ha 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 ha, as expected of a short man. Doing very well in life. Overcompensating much. There's no winning. Why are people like this? Someone replied, I think with a lot of men's body shaming, the most psychologically damaging part is that the response you get is usually to belittle your entitlement, to feel upset about it. You're just insecure. Get over it. Women have it worse, etc. Especially when it's juxtaposed with the near constant, it's okay to not feel okay. Type mental health messaging that the culture likes to play lip service to. My favorite is when people actually turn around and claim that nobody actually cares about height, invalidating the problem by claiming it's not even a concern for people. Like, I'm a tall dude, but even I see and hear loads of women saying they like a tall guy. Even if a lady would be fine with a shorter guy, she may talk about taller guys as more attractive. And I'm sure that can get under a shorter guy's skin. Also, there may not be a majority of women that even think like this, but it's a large enough population which is vocal about this that it sure feels like a majority. Story 2. I'm a very skinny guy and have had tons of comments over the years about my weight, from suggesting I eat more, asking if I have a health condition, to straight up telling me they think it looks terrible. I feel as though skinny women are generally complimented on it, whereas as a guy you get nonchalantly body shamed with comments that would be totally unacceptable to an overweight person. Story 3. This one doesn't apply to me because I dress like a homeless man, but I feel like fit, well-dressed, and put together, men have their sexuality immediately questioned. Someone replied, oh, baby, I can't tell you how many times people have assumed I'm gay because of the way I dress, but I've just started enjoying it. For one, people insinuating or thinking you might be gay generally means they think you're fabulous. Plus, when a straight dude does this and you correct them, they get all flustered and apologetic, and I get to go, why are you saying sorry? Do you think it's a bad thing to be gay? Then they get really uncomfortable. I once was at a party in college. I was dressed well, by college standards, so jeans and a button-up. I started talking to this really beautiful girl, and we hit it off. I'm usually pretty shy and reserved when it comes to talking to women I don't know, but for some reason I was feeling confident this night. Halfway through the conversation, she stops and goes, can I ask you something? I say yes, and she goes, are you gay? I tell her I am not, and her reason for asking was, you're just so nice and you're dressed so well. Like, I know this says more about the other men she's interacted with than me, but I was so confused and the conversation basically ended after that question. At the time in my head, I was like, do I have to be an asshole to be considered straight? But now my thought process is more that the other straight men she's interacted with must be real pieces of shit to warp her perception that way. Story 4. Way too many people use small dick energy as an insult to anything they don't like. And even though I'm a girl, it always rubs me the wrong way when I see it. It just seems so unfair. So many people who are assholes happen to have big dicks, and so many cool, nice people happen to have small dicks. So I just hate the phrase. It really reminds me of making fun of girls for having small boobs or flat asses. There's just nothing they can do about it, and it's mean and unnecessary. Story 5. 1. Ever heard the phrases big dick energy or small dick energy? The latter is a very common example. 2. I've been overweight since I was a late teen. Friends and family mention my weight completely offhand, and it's destroyed my self-confidence over the years. It's like people don't think you've noticed you're fat and that they're doing you some favor by telling you. 3. Height. I'm 6'1", and I've had a lot of women compliment my height even when it's obvious they like nothing else about me. Shorter guys get it bad from women, to the point where they have to overcompensate in the personality department, hence the little man syndrome thing. I genuinely feel bad for blokes that are 5'8" or below. They get mocked constantly. 4. Body hair. Doesn't matter if you can't grow a beard or a full tash, or if you're thinning, receding on top, you will get laughed at for it. Hell, I once got stick for having slightly hairy toes. Sorry to all that just grimaced at the thought. Edit. I'm aware that 5'8" isn't short, and if you personally haven't been mocked for it, that's brilliant. I've just heard hundreds of women over the years laugh at blokes that are below 6'1", and I almost always call them on it if I'm part of the conversation. Story 6. We know our hair is thinning. You don't have to keep mentioning it. Someone replied, been there. Some people seem to think that it is happening to you and you haven't noticed. I went to an outdoor event to meet up with some family. I was wearing a hat, and my aunt was there that I hadn't seen in at least 5 years. First thing she did was grab my hat and go, you are one of us. Not a big deal, but also like, come on. Story 7. Little dick jokes are extremely prevalent. They're socially acceptable for the most part. That's really odd to me. What baffles me is the new trend of using big dick energy. Would the ladies like it if we started using tight twat energy to describe someone? Someone replied, making fun of men is considered one of the last bastions of PC humor. Will Smith assaults Chris Rock on stage at an award ceremony about a joke, and people scream about, you don't make fun of a balding woman, it's alopecia. Yet don't seem to be bothered by the bald jokes against men, which is also alopecia BTW. Someone else replied, every single time. Look at that lifted truck, must have a little dick. What the fuck? Could you even imagine saying something like that about women? Disgusting. Oh, she drives a Jeep, her gash is loose for sure. Edit, women get comments. Did you read the title of the post? Even in a thread specifically for men to talk about their issues, women made it about themselves. No wonder one of the leading causes of death in men is suicide. I'm sorry women have to hear those comments. Whenever I hear them, I speak up. I hope you do the same for men. Story 8. Adding one to the mix, gynecomastia. Either it's body shaming about a man having man boobs due to the large increase of breast tissue from hormone imbalances, puffy and enlarged nipples are mocked and picked on. Or sometimes I see it in bodybuilding spaces as accusations of steroid usage. I believe it affects between 60–70% of men, but it's a running gag against us. People clown on me for wearing loose shirts or sweaters when it's too warm. I don't have moobs, but extremely puffy, pronounced nipples. It's hard to find quality, well-fitting clothing that doesn't draw attention to my fucking nipples. I actually used to tape them down on high school at a time when I was technically underweight. It's extremely embarrassing. Story 9. Comments about the height. I had a BF who was smaller than me and people always commented on that. He was precious and I couldn't care less about his height. IDK, why men aren't allowed to be small. Someone replied, I'm 5'8" and used to date a woman that was 6. The amount of comments we both got about our height disparity was absolutely staggering. We basically had to keep telling everyone that it didn't bother us, so it shouldn't bother y'all either. Story 10. Society as a whole has developed to be inclusive of women of all sizes, but I think we all know you'd be hard-pressed to find a man who wasn't absolutely shredded or slim to be modeling for any big companies. The idea of the realistic male physique is very skewed. Someone replied, this is something men need to be more vocal about if they want change. Men don't like being loud and proud about social issues and change, even things like cancer and mental health. Women march and do pink runs for breast cancer because it largely affects them, and they felt it deserved more attention. So they did something about it. Prostate cancer is one of the biggest killers of men, and yet they don't want to talk about it. There are no blue runs for them. I think the principle with body positivity here is the same. The change needs to happen among men. Story 11. The description difference for male or female in the press or clothing stores gets on my nerves. Women who are plus size, men who are fat, overweight, obese. Story 12. Not necessarily body shaming, but the whole idea of toxic masculinity just sucks now. I'm not overly emotional, don't like touching people, and I internalize things. I don't do any of these things to be manly or whatever it is people don't like. I just like to work things out myself and don't like talking things through at all. Meanwhile, I hug and kiss my teenage sons and my wife. Tell them I love them every single day. They cried with me when my dad passed and didn't make me talk about what I was feeling because they knew. If I'm having a bad day at work, I just like to sit by myself for 30 minutes to decompress. Too many people think that's a toxic attribute now and I just don't get it. Someone replied, this. If you repress your emotions, it's considered toxic. But expressing them is frowned upon by most of society. Can't have it both ways. Apparently, the only people I'm allowed to express my emotions with are my wife and my therapist. Story 13. Height. Lots of my friends don't date guys under 6'5", but I know from experience there's nothing better than a short king. Someone replied, never liked the phrase short king. It's so patronizing. Imagine calling a woman a heavy queen. Would any woman appreciate that? Story 14. Being bald is one of the few physical issues that for some reason people universally think is okay to make fun of. I know I'm bald and I don't love being bald. I don't need you pointing it out or making jokes about the glare coming off my head or whatever. But whenever anyone makes a joke about it, everyone else around laughs too, and I have to choose whether to pretend to think it's funny too, or look like the bitter guy they assume all of us bald guys are. Story 15. Literally everything that we are told we can't make fun of women for, men get made fun of for. Women. Small breast jokes? Not allowed. She can't help it. Men. Small dick jokes? Totally fine. He has small dick energy. Women. Hormone issues leading to lower sex drive? It's okay, it's natural. You husband better not push for anything. Men. Can't get it up? Ha ha ha, limp dick. Who would want to be with someone who can't stay hard? Women. Losing hair? It's okay, love, let's help you pick a wig. If someone makes fun of you, I'll slap them on live TV. Men. Losing hair? Who would want to be with a guy who has a bald spot or fully shaves? Skinhead, cue ball, etc. Story 16. Unnoticed. More like unconcerned and uncaring. You make a comment about a woman and the rage is palpable. You make one about a man and people laugh. A woman can make a snide joke about penis size or MPB, balding, and everyone laughs. A man makes a joke about breast size and he is chided, called a creep, and everyone agrees that body shaming is abhorrent and he is a sexual deviant. This is prevalent in our media. It is perfectly fine to shame men for anything. It's in TV shows, in movies, and in print. The only reason society feels like women are shamed more is because every time it happens, people scream in rage, and these very same people will be perfectly fine with shaming a man. Every woman on earth has shamed a man, either directly or indirectly, about a specific one, or men in general about penis size during joking or participating in joking. And men do it also. Balding, beer belly, fashion choices, height, you name it, it's open season for men. And I am okay with all of it, because men are not fragile. Story 17. I saw a YouTube video of a guy who goes to the gym a lot saying that his body is the bare minimum. He had a six-pack. I think guys often hold each other to unrealistic standards in terms of fitness, and it tends to be brushed off or treated like a good thing because they're encouraging each other to be healthy or whatever. Story 18. In this thread, a bunch of people naming things that are definitely noticed, like height, dick size, muscles, etc. For something unnoticed, handshakes. This is more common among older guys, like Gen X and boomers. When they go to shake your hand, they make a point of trying to grip as strongly as they can without it looking like they're trying to hurt you. It's a subtle way to point out that they're physically stronger than you. I'm a tall guy, but I'm very scrawny and lanky. I'm 37 and have been built this way my whole life. Most people seeing me on first glance would assume I'm not very strong. The way I talk is also very intentional and technical, which tends to give the impression that I'm nerdy or not very physical or weak, etc. Insert whatever stereotype you think fits. However, I also work construction. I'm not going to pretend like I'm some super ripped dude, because I'm not. But working in construction, you can't help but build some muscles, especially in my hands and arms. And my hands are pretty calloused. So I see it all the time when guys in their late 40s, 60s, who look like they put a lot of personal pride in their physical strength, go to shake my hand. They lay on the grip as strong as they can, thinking they are trying to shame me about my size and strength, only to get surprised that I have a pretty strong grip and calloused hands too. I benefit from the subversion of expectations, but it's disgusting and toxic that this sort of behavior happens in the first place. Story 19. Lack of a six-pack. Fact is, very few men have six-pack abs in real life because you've got to have under 10% body fat to really get the accented shape of the muscles. And yet, social media and porn and ads make us believe all men have to show defined abs. Story 20. Height. I won't date a girl over 120 lbs. There's you sexist body-shaming pig. I won't date a guy under 6 feet tall. You go, girl. Don't settle for less than you're worth. If you like stories like these, please make sure to like and subscribe for more. If you have any opinions on these stories, let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope you all enjoyed today's story time, and I hope to hear from you all soon.